So this doesn't sound like good news, but it is. It's no news at all. You don't really need to be told about it. In that sense, there's no news. But that is the good news. Rather than waiting for the good news and saying, I want the good news, but I don't want the bad news. Well, the news is there's just this, exactly as it is, never any different from how it is, never any different from what it is, how it feels, how it looks, how it sounds. It's no news at all. That's the good news. Really all we're speaking of is the end of waiting for everything to be okay. Everything is okay, whether it feels okay or appears okay or sounds okay. That's okay. It's an okayness that me wouldn't get. Me really can't get what's being spoken of, because there's always improvements to be made. There's always something that could be better, even when life is good. And unlike other messages, it's not about saying that life is good. It's not saying that life is as it should be. It's much simpler than that. Life is simply as it is, undeniably, always as it is. So the good news is no news at all. Everyone knows that life is as it is. But the sense of self is always in denial or in resistance to this obvious, whatever we want to call life, this being, this aliveness, this being alive. That's all we're speaking of. And this being alive has been hijacked for most human beings by me. I am alive. And in that seemingly innocuous one step, life is never okay simply as it is. For me, the moments when it is okay, if I think of the moments through Tim's life when life was, you could say, blissful, joyful, simply okay, were those moments, this is only in memory in a story, but were those moments when I was absent? Seemingly absent. And then I came back and said, what the hell was that? That was wonderful. That was beautiful. Everything for a moment was simply okay. That is how life is. I don't mean that everything's as it should be at all. It's just the absence of the as it should be. The arrogance of self is unbelievable, that I know how life should be. I mean, that is the arrogance of self. That life should be one way and not another. To suit me. But whether there's a sense of resistance to what is, what's happening, or there's an acceptance of it, there's one is much more pleasant than the other, but one isn't more right than the other. It's perfectly okay to be in resistance to life as it appears. It's not very pleasant. And if it's persistently like that most of the time, seemingly, then it can feel dreadful, unbearably so. So the amazingly good news is that life is always happening as it's happening. Again, it's no news. It won't be on news at 10 later. And the news today is that everything happened as it happened. Yes. It's not making headlines. This doesn't make headlines. So we can talk about that. You can ask about that. You can share anything.
Jacob has his hand up.
Jacob. Hi, Jacob.
Yeah, is it okay to speak?
You can speak now, yeah, sure.
Is it okay to jump in at any time, or what's the format?
Well, well, there isn't a set format. I usually speak a little bit longer than that, Jacob, but that'll do for today.
Mm-hmm. So well, yeah, I'm new. This is my first time here.
Yeah, I thought I haven't seen you before. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
So, what is in it? Let's see. This group is about. Is this a Gnostic group? What group is this again?
I love it that you don't know where you are. It's great.
Oh yeah, I never know.
Well, that even better that you never know. Yeah. So you don't know.
Because
You
I
don't
guess
know where
my
you are.
question.
You don't know what we're speaking about. You're in good company.
Right. Well, that begs the question about, the state of the mind that's listening. So, but I had a question about, like, in where you guys are from, what is the ultimate being? What is the word or description of the person who's, let's say, totally enlightened, totally liberated, whatever words that you normally use? What label would you give to that person, or what description? In other words, what does that person look like and behave in day-to-day living?
Well, anything at all, Jacob. What's being spoken of here is not about a way of being or a way of behaving or how a human being might appear. So it's not about the easiest thing to say is you wouldn't recognize anyone who, as whatever label you want to put on the freedom that we're speaking of. I tend to use the word, if you want me to use a word, I'll use the word liberation rather than enlightenment.
Okay, so liberation would look like what? The end of fear?
A lot less fear, but not the end of it.
Not the end of fear. So do you have a belief that fear cannot come to an end?
No, I don't have a belief of that, no.
So you believe, then are you open to the possibility that fear can come to a total end? Fear, anxiety,
no, not
sorrow.
Not for a human being, I don't think, Jacob. I think if a tiger is about to pounce on you, there's fear for the human being. It'd just be natural fear. But you could say it's pretty much the end of neurotic fear, what we're speaking of.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. The end of, like, you hurt me last week, I meet you today, and I meet you with the memory that you hurt me, and therefore it takes me away from being with you, fully present with you now. So the memory of yesterday is interfering with the being present, and I'm calling that fear.
Yeah, okay, neurotic fear, yeah.
Right, yeah. So you call it neurotic fear. So can that end completely? Can the human being be set free totally, once and for all, now and forever?
There is no, I wouldn't say now and forever, no, but because there's no forever. But
are you open to the possibility that that can be so?
No.
Or do you have a belief, no, it cannot be?
No, because I'm not, what's attempted to be communicated here is not a belief, even if it sounds like a belief. And of course, it sounds like a belief probably, but the attempt is to describe how life simply is, which you could say is a belief, but it's not really. It's nothing to do with belief, what we're speaking about.
Do you guys investigate at all the what is, like what is actually taking place now? Do you, through observation?
You could
through
say
inquiry, through inquiry.
It's not really about, it doesn't take any inquiry on it either, really. You know, inquiry is of, you know, we're speaking about something much more obvious than inquiry. Doesn't require any inquiry what we're speaking of.
do you go into the observer at all? Like the experiencer, who is the me, who is the I? Do you get into that? Do you look at that? Do you?
Well, what I try to point to is that that's all illusory. The whole notion, the belief that there is a separate, or a possibility that there is a separate observer, is the illusion that is trying to.
So does everybody already know that in the group? That the I, the me, the self is an illusion?
If they've come here fairly regularly, they will do, yeah.
Okay. So now that we're all, like those of us that already know that the I is an illusion, right? What then takes place? What action flows from that silent inner space?
There's no knowing that, Jacob.
Well, could we not call it love, peace, joy, creativity, lucidity, truth? That state of being where the organism, the brain body, has realized it is now set free from the inner programming, which is the I. The I is the past. Now being liberated, what does the organism do? How does the organism relate to others? What is the organism doing today? Surrounded by a world of people that are, have sorrow, suffering, violence, brutality in their life.
Well, what does the organism?
What
does the organism do? The organism does whatever it does. That's it.
No, I'm asking, like in your case, like for example, let me give you an example. Like right now, the United States is bombing people all over the world.
Right.
Has been for decades. So a person who's in this state of liberation, what is their response to all of that?
Put the kettle on.
Okay, do you have somebody that you love in your life?
Yeah, quite a few.
Okay. Now, if the United States were bombing them right now, let's say you got a phone call right now, the United States is bombing the people that you love.
Mm-hmm.
Would your response still be turn on the kettle?
Definitely put the kettle on. Yeah, that's what the British always do. In times of, if you heard about what the British did in World War II, it was always about putting the kettle on.
In other words, if you were walking down the street and you saw a woman getting brutalized or raped, or anybody being brutalized or raped,
yeah,
would you just walk your way, or would you respond to that?
There's no telling. I guess there'd be a response, but I wouldn't bet on it. I don't know.
In other words, when you feel connected, I mean, when there's no, okay, let's go into the question, there's no me, right? We know that the me is illusionary. Doesn't that create then a sense of connection to all beings? When there's no me, the me is the sense of division. And now there's no me. So now I'm connected to all beings, right? So whatever they're feeling, whatever they're going through is going through me. I feel it. No?
It can be like that, and it might not be at all.
But if you're connected, like your arm is connected to your body. If I hurt your arm, you're going to feel it. Right?
I will say something about connection.
Go ahead.
I mean, that's what me wants is connection. That's the sense of separation is the longing for connection. And so if I can hear this message, self can hear this and go, oh, well, without me, there will just be this sense of being connected with all the others. No, there aren't any others. There aren't any others to be connected with. So all is one,
right? That's the point. That what happens to one, you
sense
feel
of connection, though, Jacob. If it wasn't for me, then I'd feel connected.
Right, but there is no me. So the me is out. We're beyond that. We're past that now, right? So there's no me.
No, we're not.
I'm free of the me.
really, Jacob,
no.
there's no one who gets past, there's no getting past anything. You know, the whole illusion
I
is
thought you said the me was
I
an
could
illusion.
get past me. There's no getting past it.
Okay, so when you say the me is an illusion, you're saying you're still stuck in the illusion?
No, I'm saying no.
The organism, the brain body is still, in other words, who's talking to me now? Is the I, the me, the self, the past conditioning talking to me, or is it the silent, empty space that's talking to me?
Well, it's always the silent, empty space making all the noise, Jacob. But the illusion is very powerful when it's seemingly there. Then it really feels like I am doing that. But remember, the whole sense of being disconnected and the sense that I could be connected or I am connected, they're not two separate illusions. They're the same illusion. The sense of I am
No, I agree with you that
I am connected
I
to
agree.
you, or to, you know, the universe, or to the earth. The sense of connection is what we're speaking of as the illusion.
Right. So I'm saying any ideation is an illusion. It's an invention of thought. So, but it's all is one, but without, you're thinking all is one. There's no ideation. All is one. Therefore, what you go through, I feel. You see?
No.
What everyone goes through, I feel, because we're all one. But I'm not thinking about it.
It's a lovely.
It is so.
It's a lovely fantasy, Jacob. But you know, one human being doesn't feel what another human being is feeling. That's just not. So, it's, you know, so that's a lovely fantasy.
Do you? So then you don't. Do you feel that violence and suffering can come to an end on this planet? Is that possible? You don't believe it's possible?
Well, whether
so
I
why
believe,
are we here?
Whether I believe it or not, whether I believe it or not, it's not. It's immaterial. It's not. You know, if a fantasy about you know, a utopian future. I mean, that is purely what we're speaking of as the illusion.
No, not fantasy. Meaning, look, let me share with you briefly share with you what happened to me. Meaning, I start with what is. What is people are suffering, right?
Right.
That's a fact. That's not a projected visionary thing. It's a fact. It's happening, right? They have anxiety. There's jealousy. There's envy. There's greed. There's attachments. All of that. So I start with that and I say to myself, the me, who is that? Fear says to itself, can I do something about fear? Can I minimize it? Can I try to get rid of it? Maybe I can't try to get rid of it. I'll just minimize it. So am I aware? Is the organism aware, the brain? Is the brain body aware of what the I is doing? Meaning the I being fear is acting on fear. It's saying, I'm going to do something about fear. So, and then I saw the futility of that. And in that moment that I saw that I can do nothing, then there was silence. In that silence, there was the ending of the me, the ending of the self, and therefore connection with all beings. And then from that connection, I no longer was apathetic to others.
I have a question.
Jacob, maybe could we come back to you, because it's not a really long meeting. We've got a few other people with some questions.
Sure.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah, we'll come back. Scott.
Yes.
Scott has his hand up, and Heidi.
Okay.
So Scott, go ahead.
Hey, Tim.
Hi, Scott.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, this beautiful message of what is just right. Seems to strike a chord in a lot of people. And I got attacked a couple of times this week. You know, you heartless so-and-so.
Right.
Someone said, you're eating your rice pudding. You and your rice pudding. And I thought about that for about a day, and then it just popped out. I said, you know, in my rice pudding, the grief and the suffering is baked in. So I don't imagine that there's some place where there's never going to be suffering. And then I'm angry because the world is the way it is. It's like we invent this fairy tale.
Yeah.
And then we're angry, but not at the world, at ourselves, because we believed a fairy tale and it wasn't true.
No.
So I think I talked myself out of that corner with a couple of friends this week.
When you say rice pudding, what do you mean by rice pudding?
I think they just meant, you know, a sweet dessert that doesn't have any problems in it.
Oh,
Like-
I see.
like
As though this is like a panacea,
Yeah, or a not seeing,
right.
or a rejection of the world, you know, a blindness.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a real embrace, and it's even, you know, the suffering and the grief, they're just as beautiful as all the rest. And until you see that, I think you have to sit in it for a long time, because it's part and parcel, you know. You can never say I accept the world the way it is until you do that.
No, and we're not speaking about accepting the world.
Or fixing it, or any of the things that the ego is really happy to have a project.
I can't emphasize enough. All I want to say, I really, really want to say, is life's not interested in your resistance or acceptance. It's just, who the hell do you think you are that life is interested, whether you deny life, resist life, or embrace life and accept life? Life couldn't give a shit. Now, that might not sound like love, but it is. It's not a love that I would ever have been looking for, but here it is. That's as it is.
Well, at the end, I think it's about self-love, because what are you going to do? Just throw a tantrum for 50 years? I mean, you do it, you know, you have to find a way to say, it's going to be okay here, you know, and you have to do it on your own, and you have to come to these conclusions that whatever it's doing, I have no way of knowing that it should be otherwise, or.
Yeah, this is nothing to do with me being okay, though. I can't emphasize that enough either.
Well, not of me, but some part of me that's always been okay, has to be able to sit in it, to sit in this, whatever it is.
Well, whether you're sitting in it, whether you're diving in it, whether you're running away from it, whether you're hiding from it, it's all the same. You know, again, there is no escape. It doesn't matter. Whatever's happening is life happening as it is.
With or without.
Yeah.
Your say so, or your understanding, or
yeah. I mean, it still sounds, I know, and still people hear what's being said as, it sounds like acceptance. It sounds a bit like surrender, a giving up, but it's not a giving up at all. Whether there's surrender or a sense of giving up and a sense of surrender and acceptance and all the nice stuff that spiritually sounds good, or there's complete resistance to what's happening. It's all love, you know. It's all already accepted. It's all already surrendered. It's already happening just as it is. And
Tim, but isn't the
that's the
accepting
love.
and the rejecting part of the self? That is the self. It is either accepting or it's rejecting.
Jacob, hold on a sec, because I'm just talking to Scott. So we tend not to have open discussion because then it gets real messy.
All right.
Thanks.
Anyway, can I change tack just for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Today I was sitting outside, and I realized that boredom isn't boring anymore.
No, that's good.
And things don't have to be interesting to be beautiful. So that being interested in your thoughts was because you thought they were going to take you to some state or some understanding.
Yeah.
And if you just stop all that, that nothing kind of fills up, and it becomes really kind of sweet, and I thought, oh wow, I hadn't embraced the boredom yet.
No, boredom. Yeah, that is that is a paradox when boredom isn't boring.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I could see that really what you were saying at the beginning, there was no news, nothing was happening. I was doing things, but they had no importance.
No.
So, wow.
Well, I mean, it is wow. When nothing, even the most important, the most significant things you can imagine are seemingly happening, they are of no significance whatsoever. That is unconditional love. That's what we're speaking of. So whether there's complete boredom, like there is really nothing going on, empty as empty can be, or full of drama, completely full, there is no difference. Other than I say one is really dramatic and one is really boring.
Yeah.
It's just what's happening.
I think I noticed a kind of codependence with my thinking, where today I just thought, you're just kind of not helping.
No, well, the beautiful thing about thinking is that it's always trying to help. That's what thinking is. I mean, it's innocent as hell. It's like the most innocent child. You know, when you're doing a job and you've got a small child with you and they want to help, and actually they're really a nuisance.
Yeah,
You want to tell them to stop, but it would be cruel, and you know they're really trying to help. Well, that's thinking right there.
That's perfect.
Always trying to help the situation and make it better. Bless the thoughts.
May I make a suggestion, says the mind.
You know, and it actually doesn't help if you tell thoughts to shut the fuck up, you know, because you're not helping here. You know, I need to focus. Stop with all the thinking. Whereas, you know, again, it's the innocence of a child trying to. I think I've got an idea how I could make this better.
Yeah. It's funny, when I was with my younger kids, I remember it would take me 15 minutes to give them 5 minutes of work to explain it and create it.
That's so
I can
true.
have 5 minutes just to do my job.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you do a crossword puzzle. So part of your brain is just out of the picture. You're keeping it busy so you can enjoy the right brain kind of emptiness. Well, thanks, Tim. That's
Thanks,
great.
Scott.
Heidi, did you still want to ask your question? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot the question. That was long ago.
Hold on, I'll just get a drink.
But
Okay.
the point. Yeah,
Hold it,
yeah, great.
Yeah. Go.
Okay, great. So it wasn't really a question. It was just a going with what happened, and the upcoming was what the nice metaphor you brought about ago. It's like the little child, because I was the little child with my father, and I really wanted to learn what he is doing.
Yeah.
He didn't let me do the things. He just said, wait, I show you how it works. And I stood there hours by hours to look at him, how he's doing the work.
Yeah.
I learned it. It's interesting. I can do it. I learned it.
No, it's true.
And the point, and the point where I start was, it's not possible for me as my own little child to catch this point. I can stay forever to try to catch this point. It's not possible. It's really not possible. And I can feel this being disturbed by this point. That's where the story begins. If you cannot hold on, you do not have to hold on, but you cannot stay there just to feel what it means.
No.
just to see it, to be in this now. It hurts. It's all what it is. It's really all what it is. Even Jacob's thoughts and the thought that everyone is bringing into this room is this. And sometimes this really hurts. That's it.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andy.
Welcome.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to get my father to allow me to help him do the jobs that he was doing. But of course, him wanting to make a success of the job, children don't get to, you know, I'll give you this little bit of wood. No, you're not helping me finish this cabinet off that I'm making. I'm not giving you that big hammer.
Ted has his hand up.
Yeah, hi, Tim. I was just following that discussion. I just wanted to share with everyone. I don't know if anybody was on the Nothing FM live at 9 a.m. today, but there was a very interesting discussion with a neurologist, a scientist, and what their conclusion they are coming to. And this the question about suffering was also discussed.
Right.
And you know what's interesting, they are coming to conclusion that all of that is actually kind of made up by the mind. It's you know, he actually, what is interesting, he's written a book called I think No Self, No Person or something like that.
Right.
But he's a regular scientist, and they're coming to the conclusion similar to the old Indian scriptural terms of Maya or the illusion. So
Yeah.
it was very interesting to see a scientist take on non-duality. That was the talk was about that.
Yeah.
And scientists are coming to the same conclusion that we talk about here, is that really all of this is like the matrix. It's like a projection. It's like a make-believe, which is actually not there. So the question about suffering is also all in one's head in some terms. Of course, the body can suffer,
Yeah.
but the of that suffering, that it is mine and I'm somehow related to that, is all made up by the mind. So I just wanted to share that. If you get a chance, I mean, it'd be interesting to watch that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it is interesting. I'd like to say I'm interested, Tej, but unfortunately, that I would have been interested. I couldn't be less interested these days.
Yeah. No,
So
I know what you mean.
I would like to say, oh yeah, I'd really like to watch that and be interested, but that would be a lie. And if I said I was going to watch it, it won't happen. So because I'm whether a scientist has, it says science is in agreement that self is illusory. Well, it's too obvious, I'm so far past having a scientist or being interested in a scientist telling me that, because it's too obvious.
Yeah, I totally get that, because I've had glimpses of that. What I'm saying is, me being a scientist also,
Yeah,
for people who come in
absolutely.
and they have these concepts going on,
Yeah.
maybe they should start from looking at what the science is saying,
Yeah.
Or hang in there for long enough time for it to seep in.
Yeah. But I will disagree with him. I mean, I don't see that, that this is a projection, because the whole notion of this being a projection, like what's happening, is just a projection. Well, that needs immediately, there's separation in that, because of course I need to be the projector. I am the projector. It needs a projector. And what's being spoken of here is that there is no projector.
Right, right. And science is actually confirming that the actual reality is non-dual.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, he's not alone in that. I mean, there are other scientists who've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah.
And of course, neuroscientists, when they search for, when they look for self, there's nothing to find.
Yeah. In fact, what was also interesting that the discussion also turned to the concept of time.
Yeah.
And what he was saying is they can pinpoint the neurons that produce a sense of time.
Right.
And if those neurons are destroyed, practically the person doesn't have any sense of time, showing how illusory even the sense of time is, you know.
Yeah. And again, I mean, this common knowledge, that most human beings know this, you know, that the whole notion that time is moving in a continuous and in a steady way. We all know that time goes fast or slow, and you know, and then there's moments of timelessness. And so where is the experience of time?
Yeah. Well, thanks. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sure there's lots of people would like to. What was the guy's name? Do you know?
I don't remember the guy's name, but it was Emerson,
Right.
so, you know, live on Nothing FM.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, today at 9.
Thanks, Tej.
Sure.
I will say what we're speaking of is the end of wanting any verification from, you know, some experts that what we're speaking of is true. That's really the whole message. This needs no verification. This needs no evidence. This is what we're speaking of is not interested in okay, prove to me that it's true. Prove to me that there's no self. It's the it's the end of the one who would be interested in proof or not.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess so for the newbies or people who are delving into those areas of spirituality and non-duality, it may be helpful to see the ground baseline of what is actually being discovered of the reality of everything.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. It would be interesting for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Tej.
John has his hand up.
Hi, John.
Good evening, Tim.
Good evening.
Okay, your reaction now to the last gentleman sort of pretty much said what I was wanted to contribute.
Okay.
I just for the sake of boredom, I'll just say something.
No, say it. Yeah.
My feeling is in my line of profession, if I were to try and make something out of this experience I have by reading your books and listening to your talks and so on, I would have to take this scientific approach, and maybe I'd be able to recycle more. It would, in my case, it wouldn't be so physiological, it'd be more sort of philosophical, you know, the way people have thought about the self and the projection and stuff.
Yeah.
But my problem is I just can't be bothered because I'm not interested in explaining it to the scientific community.
No.
Because they're not interested in what essentially interests me, which is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's it.
And they're not telling me anything I don't actually know. No. Because what you're talking about is, you know, as they called it in Monty Python, it is bleeding obvious.
No, I say it quite regularly.
And it doesn't need a machine that goes ping, or although thousands and millions of dollars will be spent on this, scanning people's brains to tell us something that actually any average Joe in the street, like you just said, they know it in their bones. They know it.
Yeah, yeah.
And the really interesting thing, the thing is that even though the scientists are giving you all this crazy, cool information about how the brain, decisions are taken before you're aware of it, so you're not aware of it. Okay, and this therefore proves that we don't know what we're doing, and all of that's great. But the fact is, because they aren't scientists, they are ultimately, any affirmation they make, it has to be made from a so-called objective position.
Yeah.
And which means that they've got to present themselves as an outside observer of the phenomenon, as if they are not on the carpet, and they can observe what's on the carpet, and we're all on the carpet. And that is the one, that's the one, it's a bit like, the trick that the self plays on itself when the self gets into non-self exercises. It's still fucking there.
Of course,
and it cannot not go away. I mean, it can't go away. And so that's why it'll take us really close to that moment in which we are up against what is. But it'll never, ever, ever in a million years be able to describe it, because the scientist has to lose himself, like the self has to. I mean, the scientist is the self, basically. Is a sort of perfect metaphor for the self.
It is,
and they're therefore condemned to miss the point. Despite
inevitably,
that millions of dollars will be spent on that. Okay, I mean, people have to live, and that's one way to live.
Oh no, there's worse things to do with your time.
Can I ask you something sort of in a completely different vein?
Yeah, sure.
I know that I don't live in England, but I know that on the BBC last night there was you could watch Shakespeare, The Winter's Tale, and some of those last Shakespeare plays, they're really, I mean, Shakespeare's sort of brilliant at describing the world of duality, and describing how these selves interact with other selves and create all sorts of range of emotions and power and so on. And of course does it through the most fantastic language. But in a way, what he gives you is a sort of brilliant metaphors for our predicament. But sometimes there are lines there which really point to the absurdity of the predicament of the self, and you get the feeling that the energy. I'm no longer not pretending any interest in the guy called Shakespeare, not bothered to try and think what he thought he was doing when he wrote those plays. That's irrelevant. It's only just the energy as it comes to us when we are exposed to those texts or anything else, right? But what comes off to you is this sort of incredible intuition about the absurdity of the world of the self. It doesn't make the leap to the realization of the what is, as far as I can see, probably because that would be the end of his language. I mean,
I think so,
that's where language can't go. But it takes you to that limit. It takes you to that limit so often, in an incredible way. And I suppose there's no point in wondering what he meant by it, because he wasn't there anyway. I mean, he wasn't even writing his plays in a sense. In a sense, it was what is arising as a play. But there are some moments when his sense of self seemed to have laid down. And at that moment, the what is was allowed to just manifest itself through language.
Oh, yeah. Well, how wonderful that life lived Shakespeare, you could say.
Exactly. Yeah.
And those words, incredible.
But that was.
I didn't think so. I have to say, I have to qualify how wonderful by saying I didn't think that when I was 17 and was just staring out of the window every English lesson when we were studying very dryly studying Shakespearean text, but
Of course.
it does feel different now. Yeah.
And it's not going to be all the plays, that's for sure.
No.
And even in the great plays, it's not all the play.
No.
It's just occasionally a moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit like all the New Testament. You know, occasionally there'll be a phrase, and you think somehow that phrase managed to get through the editors.
Yeah.
And survived in a sort of in a form that speaks to you.
It's true.
And really resonates.
Yeah.
So that was my way of balancing out my previous scientific comments.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Okay, we've got a few people with questions. So Heidi first, go ahead.
Okay, it's it's great to listen and all this, and it popped up a question. Could it be that the me, if there is a me, it's really tiring to try to go where these thoughts all, and if the me is away, it's no more tiring. It's the same, but it's no more tiring.
Well, self is a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. That's what popped up. What was there in this room? Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Without a doubt, the trying is
It's
is what I do.
And the point is also that I have no possibility to take this me thing away. It's not possible. This is I think this is the hardest point in this shit thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's nothing me can do about me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I had to come back for this again. Yeah.
I mean that's why it's this message. I mean, I went to Tony Parsons for a lot of years, and it's just endlessly frustrating. I
have the lemniscate in front of me. All these big bubbles that comes to the point back, but it goes round. You may, if the me is away, there's just this round and round as it is, without any meaning, without any. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
Go ahead, Joseph.
Joey.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, mate.
I guess what pops into my mind is that I think the mind can't ever accept this.
No.
It'll never accept it. It'll always look for solution in which way in the future it'll accept its own predicament, and it can't.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, that's what's happening in the world too, I think, is we keep on trying to come up with solutions of how to fix the problem of the world with which causes down the line future problems for us. It becomes more entangled, and that's what happens in our life too, because even with children, if they have a sense of self, everything is simpler because it just hasn't gotten so entangled that it keeps on adding possible solutions to itself. So acceptance is another effort.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. Yeah, we're not, this has nothing to do with acceptance at all, what we're speaking of. Acceptance is another trying to accept. That's what I'm doing today. Yesterday I was resisting, today I'm accepting. Tomorrow I'll surrender. And on Friday, I don't know. I'm gonna
be here now.
I'm gonna be as aggressive as hell on Friday, I've decided. But one is the whole thing, all that's being said here is there is no closer or further away. There is nothing better or worse about any of those. Whatever I say about what I am doing, there's no one doing anything. It's all just happening just as it happens. It has no essential value. Nothing is more right or more wrong than another. Of course, one might be preferable, one is more pleasant and one is more unpleasant, but there's nothing essentially better about any actions. And by actions, I mean thoughts as well as physical actions. Same with emotions. You know, I want to be happy, and I woke up this morning and there's immense sadness.
Yeah. And me thinks it'll come to these meetings and it'll help fix its predicament, which it won't.
No, these meetings are not about, I mean, whatever is felt that the purpose of Tim speaking about this is not to help. This isn't about helping. I mean, that can sound horrible and sound harsh and lacking compassion, but that is the compassion of the message, that there is no need, there is no one who needs any help, is the love that we're speaking of. The whole notion that you need help, that doesn't mean to say that helping won't necessarily happen. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that there isn't anyone who needs help. That's the love. That you're perfectly, what you've called yourself is perfectly okay, no matter how it is. How you feel, how you think, what is going on for you is always exactly as it is. And how could it be other than it is? Now the compassion
for them,
the compassion is that it is just as it is, Joey.
Yes, but the problem of the me is that it has this sense of not okayness.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, how can I fix this not okayness? So now he tells me that I am okay as I am, where I don't feel okay.
I'm saying you're okay as you are when you don't feel okay. Yeah. that is exactly what I'm saying. unlike virtually everyone else, who when you say you're not okay, will try and help you fix it, or say I'm not interested, go and see someone else, and they'll help you fix it.
Yeah, so it's an agendaless compassion, really. It doesn't
Really,
try to be compassionate.
But it is compassionate. I know, I heard Tony say it so many times, Joey, like you've heard it, like this is the only compassion. I heard it over and over, and I go, you bastard, how on earth is it? But it is.
Yeah.
It is, though.
All right, thanks, Tim.
But, and again, it can sound as though, oh, that means you wouldn't help anyone. It doesn't mean that at all. Yeah, action just happens naturally.
Oh yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Well, I know I know you understand that.
But the thing is that, you know, on some level, even though there's an understanding of, okay, well, these meetings don't help, but it's still good to be at these meetings because it is better than going to a Tesco and buying, you know, potatoes. You know, but it's not. It's the same thing.
It's not. It is no better than that. But you might enjoy it more. Yeah, but not necessarily. I have to say, the majority of human beings would enjoy going to Tesco's much more than coming to one of these meetings. Almost for sure. You know, you can buy yourself a treat or two at Tesco's. Well, you know, there's not many treats being given out here, are there?
Yeah, there's hope in going to Tesco.
Exactly.
I'm gonna get
There's loads of going shopping is endless hope, isn't it? A hope that I'm going to find there's a cake that I hadn't seen before and it looks great.
And when I'm there, the hope is, oh, when I get home and when I cook it and eat it, then it'll be better.
Yeah.
It's just endless misery.
and of course you're nearly always disappointed with what you got from Tesco's and then got home and cooked it and it's not really what I hoped for.
I shouldn't have bought the meat that was on sale.
Yeah. And you so wish you'd bought that really dreadful ready meal rather than made all the effort. You should have just bought the ready meal.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cheers, Joey.
How are we doing for time? Scott has his hand up.
We'll go for another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Scott.
Hey, it really is compassionate, this message. I could see it all the time now. If you think everything's okay with you, you automatically think that for everybody. And they tell you their problems and like probably they've talked to 99 people and their minds are full of like, what am I doing wrong? I should have done that. And it just automatically comes out of my mouth. I think you're in a really good place. This is a good position. I mean, it just takes all the steam out of their, confusion. It's so loving. It's incredibly loving.
Yeah, you can do.
And I think
it won't necessarily, but
if they're ready to hear it, if they're just tired of, holding this problem and or thinking, because it's not that there's a problem, it's that they're thinking it's a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas because maybe you've lived it, you've been through the crap, and you know that it's a good learning experience, or you know that that whatever's going on has to be just right. So it gives you a really nice way to just invite them into this place.
Well, if you're not coming from it, again, paradoxically, if you're not trying to help, that's often the most helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out of me just because I think it's a natural extension of me feeling like this is obvious that everything's going exactly how it has to go. So I'm not trying to be compassionate. I'm just noticing how sweet it is and how people get relaxed and kind of touched by it. So it is contagious.
Yeah, it can be, but depends,
I mean, we're all here for
not everyone gets caught by that.
No, but I think we're here because it just feels good to have someone say, you may or may not be confused, but this is okay. What you're going through is okay.
Well, one of the best things you can say is someone who feels dreadfully confused, and really that's what mental anguish is usually about. Is just I can't make sense of this, and one of the best things you can do is not try and help that, but just go, yeah, that's how it is. It's okay to be confused.
Yeah, we don't know it ourselves. No one says we have to figure it out. It's almost like you're letting them off the hook from having to figure it out.
Well,
but it's all part of this group, I think, too. It's just nice. It's like who's going to figure it out?
Yeah. Well, that is that's the good news, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the things on the list.
There's nothing to figure out.
Thanks, Tim.
Regardless what the neuroscientists say, there's nothing to figure out. But it is a scientist's job to figure stuff out.
Joey has his hand up again. Go for it, Joey.
Go on, Joey.
All right. Yeah. I know you talk about it, and that's why what's been coming up to me, it's the peace beyond all understanding, because it's not that you arrange the circumstances so that it fits into your predicament for the time being. Nothing has to change.
No. No, that is the peace that passes all understanding.
Yeah. And that's the compassion that it's okay as it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay as it is exactly the same. That's the modern version of the peace that passes all understanding. I think my modern version of it is all okay, whether it's okay or not.
Yeah.
Because again, that doesn't make any sense. And understanding would say, well, how can it be okay if it's not okay? Well, it's okay because it's not okay. You won't understand.
There's no underlying issue.
Well, it's really just the absence of the one who says it's not okay that it's not okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, it's very basic.
That's all we're ever speaking about. All we're ever speaking about is the one who says, which is me, it's not okay because I'm not okay. And I'm not okay with it either. I'm not okay with me. I'm not okay with you. I'm not okay with her. I'm not okay with what's going on in America. I'm not okay with what's happening to the planet. I'm not okay with it. Okay? and then if there is, I don't know, he shuts up. I don't know what's happened to him. He's laid down. He hasn't got up again. He's laying in a ditch somewhere. And there's no one saying that. That doesn't mean that it feels okay all the time. But I tell you what, when life is not okay, but the one who keeps on about it constantly, never shutting the fuck up about it's not okay, if he's quiet, do you know, it's not that bad not being okay. It's okay not being okay. That's the peace that passes all understanding. That was my impersonation of Jesus there.
I like it.
That's what he meant. I know.
Mm.
I know that's what he meant. That's what he meant to say. That's also what Shakespeare wanted to say, but he was so wordy about it. Wordy wordsmith. That was his nickname. Really, all we're ever speaking of is why do you think it has to be okay all the time to be okay?
But that's not a question to be answered.
No. It's one of those rhetorical ones.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like me's life is it's an endless riddle.
Yeah.
That it's never going to solve.
Absolutely. With that's what we're really, again, that's what we're speaking of. We're speaking of there is no solution to the riddle. There actually isn't a riddle. The riddle is what I am. I am the problem, and then I am the seeker of the solution to that problem, which is the problem. Because I'm the one who says there's a problem. And the problem is, I'm not okay all the time. I was okay 10 minutes ago. Now I feel shit. What the hell's going on? That's not how I want it to be. I need to be like I was last Thursday. I had this amazing moment of bliss. And I just need that to be, I just need life to be like that all the time.
Yeah. And that's why people always talk about the past, because remember when it was okay?
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, me and you could have a great evening together and you go, do you remember when we had that great evening and it was really okay? And the thing is, I was pretending the whole time. And actually, I was in terrible turmoil. But I put on a great show and you thought I was having the bliss that you were having. You're going, no, that was actually really shit. I was pretending. Because we know, you know, it's just all, none of that happened, you know. We dwell on the past, that we had this lovely experience. Well, we didn't.
All right, I let someone else go.
Just a quick question in chat. I know we're running a bit late, but Jacob says, is conflict, violence and suffering okay?
Yeah, of course, everything's okay. But that doesn't mean that it's okay. Doesn't mean it feels okay. Doesn't mean it's rationally okay. It doesn't mean it's right. as in it's morally correct. That's not the okay that I'm speaking about. It's impossible to convey, really, the okayness of everything, especially when it's dreadful. Well, has anybody else, if anyone has got a last question? Oscar says, is it impossible to not be okay? Oh no. The sense of self is the very, this isn't quite how it should be. It's not quite okay.
No, actually, Tim, I said, what was it? It wasn't a question.
Yeah, sorry, Oscar, go on.
It wasn't a question. I said that like it is impossible for it to not be okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Thanks, Oscar.
Thank you.
Just one. Jacob has his hand up. Do you want to go for one more? How are we doing? Maybe if
Hello?
it's
Jacob,
Sorry.
can you make it short and to the point?
Okay. I think what I see, right, is that when there's a self, you say that you don't have a self, but I see a self, because when there's a self, there's no feeling. You don't feel for others. So everything is okay. I mean, if you're not feeling, right, the pain and the suffering of others, guess what? Everything is okay.
I tell you what it is,
no
Jacob.
self,
It's really
but when there's no
disconcerting
self,
looking at
and
you
when
as
you
you
feel
appear and
connected,
disappear.
and you're feeling
I'm
the
finding
pain
that
of
really
others,
upsetting.
you act. You're not like a dead piece of wood. You act. It's only when you don't feel it, right? And you say everything is okay. Everything is okay.
Was that a question?
Are you here listening? I'm saying that when there's a self, then you don't feel connected to others. And that means that the proof, when you say everything is okay, that's the proof you have a self. You're saying I have a self. And that self is creating the illusion of division and separation from others. That's why everything is okay. They're bombing over there. What do I care? I'm okay. Everything is okay. You don't feel for others. You have no feeling. You don't feel the bird, the tree, the cloud, nothing, because you have a self. Because if you had a self, you would act, you would respond. You get it?
Yeah, I sort of get what you're saying, but I don't agree with you.
What part don't you agree with?
It's all right, Jacob. We'll leave that. Thanks, Jacob. Well, thanks very much for coming, everyone. There'll be a meeting on Thursday and I'll send out invitations. If you'd like to be on the invitation email list, then, and you're not, then by all means, message me on the website, timclissthis.com. Thanks very much for coming. Nice to see you all.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah,
Thanks.
hopefully see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Tim.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Everything will be okay.
No, it won't.
Everything is okay.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, I can't believe Joey said everything's going to be okay.
No, Bob Marley said that. I just quoted him. That's all.
Did you say that? All right. Lovely to see you all.
It was a lovely
Bye, Tim.
meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Really.
Bye.
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 Thanks.
Oh.
Yes, such that is some laugh there. Fuck's sake. Dear.